All right, so let's talk about women in the white supremacist movement. Uh, there was a four-man trial. 14 women were tried for seditious conspiracy, and they were acquitted. You find this over and over again. If you haven't noticed this pattern, we talked about this before in examples. White supremacists oftentimes will go up, be charged, pretty much be guilty of sin, and there will be often there will be an element of jury nullification. When the jury will look at the findings and say, yeah, no. And this gets into an idea of we'll call it, there's actually a term for it in illicit flows literature. They call it the moral. Okay. We all need crimes bad. How many you sped in the last week? Permanently thing, speeding is like really easy. Like, people, there's just the law says one thing, and society is saying. And I'm not saying that this is good or bad. Let me give you an example of like even one of my favorite Supreme Court hearings. Supreme Court Chief Justice Robertson is hearing a case, and he gives an example. Let's say in a time far, far away, beyond the statute of limitations, I was speeding in my car. That's what it says in the statement, right? It says not having liability. Like everybody speeds, we all know that. There's a prosecutorial discretion involved. In the case where immigration report U.S. citizens. And the U.S. government finds that they need a reveal that they lied out on that paperwork, like a speeding ticket, they can use this chicken. And you can see the Supreme Court justices were teaching on and Lady Kagan asks the question, uh, well, let's say I punched my way. That's really hard, right? And I punched my way, lied about my way to and the government's position was any law we can route. I can't remember how they ended up ruling on that. The case they had in front of them, he was actually pretty clear cut. The woman had been married to a guy who committed war crimes. She hadn't revealed that. She was required to reveal that. That was clear as day. They were going to rule against her. What they were worried about was the precedent they might be setting for everybody else who's naturalized citizens. Because you could have people who are naturalized citizens and then they get their citizenship revoked. And you see the problem. One of the problems with that. The can of worms Donald Trump is about to open up. I don't think they're going to let it. It's clearly related to the Constitution. But the end of birth rights citizenship. That opens up a whole can of worms. Because if I'm going true, and fine, I can probably do this to why people been in this for 100 years. I can find an original sin in somebody's naturalization process. 1850 or 1830 or 17, whatever. If I can do that, I can say everybody on their family tree is no longer a citizen. If they were a citizen, they were a citizen, they were a citizen, they were a citizen. If I just say it's all my blood, right? All I have to do is go and tell that historical story. The American South actually happens. There would be these situations where there would be a little girl, and she, seesaw. Seesaws are really dangerous. Most seesaws, you want to be seen on. Girl dies, and the families are having an inheritance battle. Because the money was going with the girl or whatever reason between parents. Families are having that inheritance battle. What the families were doing so that girl, that little girl had one drop, 256 black blood. Therefore, she has no rights to the subject blood. That's a story they were making up so they can take it. But that's the ugly place that you go with law by blood, sinews. You get into those things, situations. Jus solus is very simple. Is the person born here or not? Done. It's very simple, straightforward. The only time it's not simple is if the what do you call them? The midwife The midwife lies about when the person was born. Yeah. You're not used to that. You don't even think about it. How many of you were not born in a hospital? Not born in a hospital. See, where were I'm just curious. Through a midwife. Really? Okay. That's very rare. You're like, probably the only ones. Yeah. Yeah, some people might be born in orphans there. Which is pretty long record. Through minerals. So we don't even think about it much anymore. We just think, oh, you're sleeping in a hospital. What? No. Now, it's a cool paramedic story. Side of the road, when the ambulance was sitting. Yes, that's nice. So you can tell me that story. Really? Yes. We have there are very few Americans that are having. And when they get delivered, and can't find ambulance paramedic, God where else? Almost everybody there. Really? It was, yes. She has plenty of jobs with pets, I say better than you do. I would. Okay. So the idea here is, I'm not saying that what they did was right. I'm saying that sometimes juvenile patient needs the criminal justice system to kind of break down and not prosecute. Malheur National Forest, the Bunting brothers. So let's talk about the Buntings. Now, in the western part of the United States, if you really look at a map, federal government owned land, the federal government owns a massive percentage of the land out in the streets. So it's a really big place like Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, like I don't even realize why we got our national park system up and running as we were expanding. There was a lot of wide open space. The federal government could buy and protect those lands. Now, if you're a rancher living next to cattle, like great land for my cattle to graze, and the federal government had oftentimes would let you do that. Or they would charge them leases, or they would charge them leases but not charge them a lot of money. We're not even collecting. The problem when you do that is when you don't charge people, you start to think so. And one day the federal government said, actually, we have this is from the guys working for the federal government and the environmental insects and land management. We have cattle spots on land. If you overgraze, it will destroy the ecosystem and destroy it for that cat, right? We think of the Sahara Desert now. Who made it a desert? Humans overgrazed cattle led to an ecological collapse, and now you just think of this for thousands of years as energy. Messed it up real bad in a bunch of places in American history. Anybody ever heard of the Dust Bowl, Oklahoma? The Okies, basically, if you've seen the old black and white pictures, they loaded up whatever truck, whatever vehicle they had, took every belonging they had, which the tussle just came through and ripped through, and it was because they overformed that land with really bad farming. And the topsoil was just gone, so when the winds came through, and this dust bowl was nasty. I mean, if you breathe, if you were present at these incidents, your lungs were screwed over. Yeah, you have family stories? On here. 30%. It was in the middle of the depression. So, and yeah, there's so much of that. Not unbelievable. There's a big deal on the head. There's so many problems. I don't even know where. Like hundreds of miles out. What's like? He was so yeah, that was the state circus hunting. They want to spread the songs. So he was pretty much John from Chicago, over the Texans. That found thing in the stickers. The country is strong in this. So he goes to the game and just. And it wouldn't surprise me if essentially a federal government came out and told you, and that's what I was working to get to. The federal government under FDR realized, like, hey, there are better existing farming techniques that can prevent this land erosion. And so there are these federal government employees, and that's something for us to do. They're just telling you what are your practices. You're doing these types of things. It's completely voluntary. The bunch of them, sadly, just got fired. I noticed we haven't had any decibels in the last 8 years, but hey, let's try our. Still got time. Sure. Most. One question is yes. Question there. Go. Okay. Who helps along the better farming practices? Well, I just described one mechanism. Federal government employees going around describing best practices. Two. Where did all that genetic, where all the research funding for all that genetic or better research on better crops that are more viable and produce more hours per minute? NIH, NSF, basically research funding for professors doing research on those specific things. They publish that research publicly, effectively give it away for free. And then some corporation comes along and is like, oh, hey, that's a great idea. We're going to tweak it a little bit, call it Monsanto seed or whatever it is. So all of those things were actually like government programs that got going. But going back to the Bundys. So in the 2000s and the 2010s, the Bundys got frustrated that the federal government was now actually going to start charging them money. The federal government said, like, hey, you owe us for quite a few years now. You can't raise your capital on federal land. So these guys, they're not necessarily white supremacists. I mean, this is a little weird. I want to get one thing across to you. A lot of these groups that start taking nation terrorism or violence against the government, they are in a broader view. It's like a stew of ideas. Have you guys ever heard of sovereign citizens? Guys, have your other classes focused? Well, these bugs, they kind of get the sovereign citizen ideas. They can just tell the government, like, no, you don't have the rights to. One thing that they tell the federal government they don't have the right to do is own property. They're like, it's in the Constitution. The U.S. federal government does not have the right to own property. I challenge you. U.S. government can't own a military base in the land that's on it. Really? George Washington signed off on that. Yeah, look at the bridge, I'll sell you real cheap. What do they base that on? There is part of the Constitution where they established the 10-mile square zone of the Federal District of Columbia. It does not mean they can't own property anywhere else. So therefore, the federal government doesn't have the right to own property. Ergo, we have the right to break on. They have a massive standoff. We got guns. People from all over the country are coming to support them. There's a standoff of federal agents. It's starting to look like Waco, which we're going to talk about in this class coming up here. It's starting to look like a Waco type situation. But who knows? You don't bite on a Waco situation. You don't go inside the store. You have the right to go in the store. If somebody's refusing you and holding guns and pointing guns at you, he's illegally on property and prevents you doing normal government. You have the right to do that. But it blows up in your face. So just don't. Have real discipline? No, sure. Tell them they can't do that. Don't try to avoid getting into a standoff. So after that Bundy incident, the Bundys go off and they decide that they're going to start occupying federal government land. So they go up to a park ranger station with this in Mount Hood National Forest. I believe that's in Florida. So we can check it. It's the wildlife of the Pacific Northwest. Notice all this stuff happens in the Northwest, Pacific up in that Pacific Northwest area. And they basically occupy a federal ranger station, don't let the federal rangers in, and they're doing farm. Right? What would you call that? Insurrection, yeah. At a minimum, it's like, like kind of going right. Everywhere we go, and like when they go get them, they do a stop up, and there's a shootout. These guys get put on trial, shot or shooting federal agents. Guess what? Got a jury, people up in Oregon were frustrated that the federal government gives so much land they can tell everybody what to do, and they're found guilty. We see this pattern a lot with white supremacist groups and white supremacist adjacent groups that are willing to engage in extremism and use violence against us. Most sovereign citizens don't. To a judge, and they'll bring in handcuffs for the judge and be like, no, there's something the judge who's 60 years old, they're going to be thrown to jail. It's like, hey, what a real witness. So means whatever with the Emirates, no, they're both off and feel journalists and politics would go. And they're not getting orders to move back, stop and let them know, no, please stop and see the United States. I don't have to stop and learn it. He means is that their service is wrong. It's so ridiculous. Well, to me, the funny part is when I was on meeting that meeting. No, that's all it is. It's like, yeah, it's like, take a civil liberties course, take a constitutional law course, you can realize all the rights. Oh, you got free speech. Government can regulate the time, place, and manner of citizens. Can I say Trump sucks? Can I say Trump sucks at 3 a.m. with a bullhorn on the White House lawn? I won't last 5 minutes. Government regulates that up court. You don't want to protest the government? You absolutely have the right to go protest the government. Why don't you go ask the government to protest the government? Ask the court. Municipal ordinance and require you to have a just moving. So yes, you do have the right to protest. They can regulate that. They can unlawful ask you to realize all the rights you don't have, not based on local ordinances or statutes. Okay. So this incident at Fort Smith demonstrated the importance of women in movement. Women broker social ties movement. They provide support. Protecting women is the narrative, one of the dominant narratives within this movement. Protecting the white female body. You'll hear all these stories about, say, black men, they're raping our women. It's about protecting women. You'll hear this narrative. And it'll be about promoting fears of physical harm to white women, and what they're doing is to protect white women. It's mixed with Christianity. Here they point out that the Virgin Mary is all as white. So let's talk about the societal backdrop. In the 1970s, ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, basically have said men and women, well, women can't be discriminated against. Equal Rights Amendment failed to pass. And it was actually conservative women's movements who were the most effective at shutting down the army. Now, we don't really think about this anymore, because a lot of these issues are resolved at the Supreme Court. Remember, I gave you, and if you take my zombies class, I'll go into a little bit of this constitutional law about it. If I teach you, that teaching in front of strict time zombies. There's strict scrutiny, any law that discriminates on immutable characteristic. You can do that. Okay. But it must be narrowly tailored, and there must be compelling state interest. It's a very hard test to pass. So any law that potentially discriminates on race is almost, in law or policy, is almost inevitably going to get shot down. For gender discrimination or sex discrimination, they have intermediate scrutiny. It's slightly less, but instead of narrowly tailored, they say it has to be carefully tailored. And instead of compelling state interest, it says important state interest. Whatever. It's probably needless shirts. Shot down. Slightly less likely, but it's going to get shot. Now that goes both ways. If you're discriminating against men, it goes back that way as well. So there was this anti-feminist movement. Much of it was led by women within, for example, like Christian movement. Her name was Timothy Baker. Was one of the leaders of finance declarations in the past. And some of that was a reaction to Roe v. Wade 1973. Can anybody tell me what Roe v. Wade 1973 was? Yes, it effectively legalized abortion on a national level, and it did it based on viability. So when the fetus was viable away from the mother, that's when abortions were going to be asked to approach that. So basically, they were kind of defining. They were doing a legal definition of kind of like when life begins. I'm just going to tell you, I'm a Catholic. I just really weird all that. Like, really, like, conception. By the same token, there are real situations where women's life can pregnancy, all kinds of things. And I'll specifically go over this is one place where it's like, people say that never happens. I heard from scientists that never happens. Yeah, or they'll say it point blank, like it's, and they'll bring in some PhD to their church, claim that that's not true. Like, I don't know how to talk to you, bro. Like, we're in a different reality. That can't happen. There are documented cases where they're reality. And they're really tricky to deal with. So, like, I truly, from a war, I'm not trying to, like, tell you how, like, genuinely, like, I can see arguments both ways. Like, there's an internal tension. I ask my I'm a professor. My job is to keep more time on the distance, not less. Right? If you want to go down living the world, this is where we don't go to college, right? You want to see the complexity of the world, so you can picture. So Roe v. Wade essentially legalizes abortion throughout all the states, federalized policy in 1973, and he took that one conflict. I gotta tell you guys about how my second child was born, the story of my second child is our skin. But like, tell the story, right? And it's like, so Roe v. Wade, if you were in a state like New York, Roe v. Wade had maybe no effect. If you were in a state like Texas, Roe v. Wade opened up abortion in your state, maybe you didn't like it. So there was a conservative backlash against that. Roe v. Wade was essentially the law of the land for 40 years until the recent Supreme Court decision in the US Dobbs overturned it, basically puts it back in the hands of the states. A lot of states, like Texas and other states, basically have rules on the books that automatically basically defacto into diversity. I think there are medical exemptions, but there was one woman who in Texas tried to get the medical exemption and she had like a J case. They basically delayed her out so much she had to stay to get care. If you listen to her talk, she's from they're then one half of the state is. It was not a woman who was just trying to get an abortion for the sake of it. She didn't want kids. She already had 4 kids. She plans to have more. Going through with that's a pregnancy with sterilized. Uh, and so that was actually the reason why she was trying this. Loving v. Virginia. We forget this. Blacks and whites could not marry in America until 1967. Now, theoretically, depending on what state, it might have been earlier. It might have been a lot earlier. But if it was in the American South, it was 1967. Loving v. Virginia. And then you have the rise of the new right. The new right. Evangelical Christianity is coming into its own as a political power. And it's really evangelical Christians prior to Roe v. Wade were not anti-abortion. You know, that's something they flipped on this issue after 1973 with the new right movement, and in particular with Ronald Reagan running for president. Ronald Reagan, as governor of California, has been like pro-abortion and pro-gun. When he runs for president at the national level, flips on these issues, in part to bring in the new right movement. And the new right is in many ways the Republican Party. Well, it's not the Republican Party as you know it today, but it is a major component of the party. You gotta remember, I guess I'm in my mid 40s now. Donald Trump really changed the American last choices. The Republican Party as you know it today is not what it was. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's fundamentally different. In some ways, evangelical Christians within that political movement have more power than for previous. Fertility. There's a lot in white supremacy. There's a lot of talk about fertility. White race. We're seeing this kind of pronatalism come into the political discourse. When I say pronatalism, like have more babies. And that's in part because of a demographic gap. Amartya Sen, Nobel Prize winning economist, has this amazing line. Is a society for a whole series of reasons, the fewer children have. In agricultural societies, a 4-year-old is economically growth. You work on a farm. But it was really cute when my kid was like 3, 4 years old. And you kind of but I won't actually accurate all basic instructions. He can economically productive. Not in this society. In this society, it's useless until, trying to graduate from college, right? It's, no, I don't think that's, don't say the first one, I kind of do not want. It's very difficult in society to be self-sustaining. There's high costs. High cost of living. It's high cost. We have to invest a lot. The state invests in control education. That's a massive investment. The state is putting in. The state is subsidizing a college state university education. That's a massive investment. These are all investments in you. What that means is in industrial societies, kids are expensive. They're expensive for the parents, they're expensive for the society. No, they all go to the long haul, right? They're all factors. Right? That's why I think just your child tax credits are rare. I'm like, one just many of those costs for parents. That's not what parents do. Unfortunately, I don't know how to solve this problem. Because I can look at Europe and all across Europe, the most generous social welfare benefit programs, like where they're throwing money at people that have kids, and you only see nominal increase. I don't know if the cultural shift will actually change this. There's only one group of people who hate tyranny, hate wealth, and keep cranking out payments. Mormons. What they're really get on. Because conservative religious. Mormons are conservative Catholic. I'm very good. Really conservative Catholic. Real Catholic. Everything that's a law. Right? It's a standard. Okay. Hispanics used to have this baby bump, but it's starting to change. You're seeing it with the demographic numbers. So we're not going to get the Hispanic baby bump that we used to have. That was what was keeping, in part, a lot of demographers were saying Hispanic immigration was helping us keep a positive fertility rate. Why is a positive fertility rate good for society as a whole? Well, more mouths to feed, more workers, more consumers will expand GDP overall. What's that? Not necessarily. You have very healthy but declining overall population. Be very healthy. In fact, I think that will be the future. We'll see increasingly declining populations, and we'll probably be healthier than we ever were. We're healthier now than we are. And the things that make us unhealthy, those are the things. I read my doctors like, now you gotta lose 5 to 10 pounds. There's your cholesterol not really got that. It's your 5 to 10 pounds. It's not eating process. And I don't listen to a lot of it. I don't know. Their vaccines, sure, diabetes. No. It doesn't work on English. Yeah, we had an outbreak in Texas of measles. Always. Maybe it's another chance. This is going to be it's less than it's like I'm not supposed to be political, but I think it's political. I don't think it's just so colors vaccines balls, right? You can see the numbers of these numbers. It's like measles deaths. Moving to 1 billion measles deaths like a year. And then was it like somewhere in the 1960s we put in measles vaccine and it drops to almost nothing. And then they recommend a second dose of this vaccine and it drops to really nothing. This is the first measles death we've had in 10 years. 10 years. And they say measles is a terrible childhood disease. Like, for every person who's alive, it's nothing. It's like hundreds who are sick and they made different life decisions because of vaccines. But overall fertility rate is something we want to promote because generally most economists agree that a little bit of population growth is good for an economy. Other reason is, do you want your social security or not? The whole system is predicated. When FDR sets up this system, there's one retiree for every 16 workers. Now, it's living a lot longer now. So by the mid 2000s, that drops one retiree for every 5 workers. Now, if we keep living longer and longer, we either have to raise the retirement age, which I'm cool with. Like, what's my retirement plan? It's like, they're going to pull my body out. It's going to do my needs. So I still publishing. And my wife is like, you can try to keep more from my own dead hands. I'm going to be a professor for life. I'm retired. Like, I ain't going to grow. I'm going to keep publishing. But the idea is that we want to maintain social stability and social programs that people come to know and love, like social security. We need a growing population. Our fertility rate, we had this magic sauce. We had a positive fertility rate until about 3, 4 years ago. We dropped to negative. But we still had a positive fertility rate because we had animals. Now we're cracking down on immigration. The 2020s are looking surprisingly like the 19. Advantage immigration, people are younger. They're less likely than the Native American born population to commit crimes. That's actually not true in Europe. Europe is where this is more about us than it is about Europe. Europe is way more peaceful than we are. We're actually more likely to commit crimes. But immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than we are. Social shock. It's higher. This kind of stuff. Yeah, you know, there is Secretary of Defense, and she said, yeah, she just said about NATO, about like pretty much like I was reading about it. When this defense like they were in France. Oh, I was reading about it, but it said that it was saying it's like was this before or after you shot the whiskey in public? I don't know. Did you see that orange? I don't know what I heard about. Bro. And he goes, part of the actually the whole thing keep facing that is like I really do a good job with that we're still going to use, which I know still thinking here. I think we do so much. We spend more of our budget, we spend about 5% on military defense. Europeans are spending far less. We told them it's 2.5. Yeah, and they keep saying, oh, we'll split by 2030, by 2040. No, now. Why? Trump is helping them down again, except this saying, we're not over. If you're not doing this, we're not going to abide by Article 5 of NATO. We're not going to do this. We're not going to help Ukraine. You're going to have to do this. Okay. There are pros and cons to that. I can see something good coming out of that, which is that Europeans are going to have to stand up for their own defense. Taxes are spending that money. And getting themselves up to 2.5 or 3. No, it's Denmark has already come out and said, they have upped. And you know why the Denmark can afford to do that? Because of that. No, seriously, because we are obese. You know, Wegovy, Ozempic, all those drugs. The paradigms are all in Denmark. Like it's a giant 20 to 30% of this massive expansion. Because we are really into Wegovy. Where did like all those drugs come from? I can't think so. Canadian researcher, NIH, studying Gila monster and whatever you hear about studying federal government, getting federal government grant money, that is like researching something that is really weird. And you're like, that's a waste. I want you to remember this for the greatest drugs of our generation are radically changing people's lives. They're being radically successful. Came from studying the venom of Gila monsters. I cannot imagine. Look up Gila. Look go ahead. There's no talking computer. Look up that application Gila monster venom. Tell me what the AI tells you. We're probably have the word semi-glutide. I mean, how random is that? Only the government retains the money to study Gila monsters. Only the federal government would take such a strange risk, fund something that sounds so strange, and yet it turns out to be one of the more powerful. Yes, you basically said, that, and there's three folks in our division as resources is protecting our own borders instead of external borders. Yeah. And apparently, how much election this is Were you worried about any million? It's an interesting thing. You spend an infinite amount of money on boost. That's what concerns me. Giving up your alliances means that you don't necessarily have to bases, you don't have established relationships. And Article 5 of NATO, and Article 5 basically said an attack on one is an attack on all. What that meant was Russia was treating each other from attack. And in NATO, but they never would have attacked. It would have been all that shit. He never would have attacked the first place. But if Vladimir Putin can get Donald Trump and believe that Donald Trump won't actually come to European aid, what is to stop him from attacking the Balkans? When I say the Baltics, don't get confused with the Balkans. Balkans are going to Yugoslavia, Slovenia, where my family's from, Croatia, Serbia, those. Baltics are up further north over by like closer up to like big Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They're tiny little countries. Vladimir Putin will not invade Finland. Finland is like the whole country is like I'm supposed to have distance to the state. Yeah, he's trying to kill those. It's like, oh yeah, come get it. You ain't kill a lot of us. And that's the deterrence. Yeah, yeah. They fought the war with the Russians, and I don't know about that anymore story, but there was a killing people like this a lot of stuff. Yes. You know, oh, like Indian snipers. Famous American snipers. For example, have you ever heard the story of Alvin York? Alvin York? Anybody? Alvin York was an Appalachian kid, and falls in love with her, and she goes to a church, and it's a Baptist church. And this kid was so poor, the only way he ate was if he shot a squirrel. They actually call it soul starvation. You're not really a shot, so you're spending more time calories getting the stroll than actually getting out of the stroll. So this kid lived off the stroll since he was a really good shot. And he becomes a pacifist, he's in that church. But when the US government drafts, you don't see that church's name on the list of pacifists for pacifist churches. So they're like, sorry, son, you're going to the war. He refuses to shoot a gun in the basic, so they make him and he's a medic, and his guys, he's with the unit, and all, like 3 or 4 of the guys get shot by the 30s. And he loses it, and he picks up the rifle, and starts killing journalists. And they were a charge of 6, and he takes all 6 out with 1 rifle. They are a charge of 20, he takes all 20 out with 1 rifle. And at that point, they are so convinced dying to her. That's a true story. He ended up becoming an American possibly a senator. See that at Tennessee? Something like that. But he wasn't very educated, so he didn't do so on top. It's very famous American story. So on occasion, there are these military stories where one guy can do a whole lot. Typically, that's not the story. Okay, why am I talking about overall fertility? Why am I talking about the future? Is the future going to be more or less religious? As a general trend, there's a trend of secularization. We kind of took that for granted. But if secular people don't make babies, highly conservative religious people do make a lot of babies. What's the future? Maybe will be more religious. Maybe we will a lot more religious. There's another non-religious category of people that are really emphasizing fertility. That is Nazis and white supremacist extremists. They emphasize fertility. There's a symbolism there of women in the fertility process, the children, having lots of children. Women must have more children for the race. That's the ideology. Just pronatalism. was more important than traditional family architecture. What does that mean? When we think of a family, when conservatives talk about family values typically in America, what are they talking about? They're talking about mom and dad and lots of kids, and this is the nuclear family, this is the architecture. Uh, if all you care about is lots of babies, then well, basically, you just go sleep around. Try to knock up as many women as you can, right? But it's irrelevant, right? Family architecture is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is going and increasing the number of those all days. They had a Northwest separatist strategy. Women subservient. Women became leaders to their husbands. You see this also in organized crime quite often. There was the Aryan Women's League. There were racist coloring books for kids and homeschooling. Uh, homeschooling is interesting because the whole country went through a period of homeschooling during the COVID pandemic. Homeschooling is completely unregulated. My wife kept coming to me, and my wife is from Northern Mexico, and she specializes she's a licensed psychologist from Northern Mexico, specializing in early childhood education. And periodically, as she's running her own homeschooling curriculum, like, "Ooh, great job, Marcus." She kept going, "Now, but I have to show this to you." And I was like, "Oh, my, that's like bigger than no. We're in the state of New York, we might have to show this to a government entity. In the state of Texas, they're free to do whatever they want. And in my family's case, that was amazing. But I could also imagine if, like, I was a Nazi family, what would my homeschooling curriculum consist of? You could see that this could be a path of radicalization. I very much appreciate that Texas was hands off. It was cool. Instead of focusing on writing down everything we were doing for our kids and submitting reports to some government bureaucrat, may or may not know what they're talking about or whatnot, I just focus on educating our kids. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it could be very, very bad in terms of being radicalized pretty deeply. The idea is that we're never going to play a sport role during a major race war. They're going to emphasize apocalyptic survival. Have you ever had Proverbs? Yeah. Okay, now or racist. This is where I want to get into this idea of the milieu, right? But predators, look, there's a lot of racists amongst predators. That's what I'm getting. Lots of orange characters, not judgments. I don't know if it's arrested. What's arrested? Oh, it's what I'm here to show. Basically, the rains that are Alaska, but really not another homestead. They go to failed American homesteads. They like do a complete revamp of the homesteads. They grow up and you like survive on their homestead. Like this is the show from real life. Homestead risk. Really, it's sad in Alaska. It's like, what's my resume? And she shows up as very Palisades. It's like, there. Anyway, sorry, I let you watch up. So, um, survival. Um, And they create these martyrdom myths. So she would be an example of martyrdom. Marriage is thought of as an alliance between different clans within these white supremacist groups. The very famous incident, Ruby um, was killed in the door. So here's what happened. Her husband, Randy Beaver, was, I think, a former retired Beaver, right? And I think I got in trouble. And he was buying and selling guns. And he sells a gun either to the illegal sawed-off shotgun, into an ATM in Florida, right? And they bring him in, and they're like, "Hey, we gotcha. Listen, we don't actually want to charge you. We want to flip it. We want you to go undercover and be an informant for us to get bigger fish. This is just a sawed-off shotgun." He says, "No, refuse." They're like, "Well, then we're going to execute the warrant. We're going to arrest you." So when they showed up to execute the warrant, the family lied, I like that when you're on Instagram, it's going to have more. They showed up. And this turned into a nasty scandal, which the federal government was too aggressive. They ended up shooting his wife behind the doors. He's running. She opens the door open for him. He's running in. They miss him and hit her with the door. This is because of the siege of Ruby Ridge, at the bottom of the mountain where they're taking the standoff. Neo-Nazis start to show up and do protests at the bottom of thousands of Canadians. I'm not remembering whether or not one of these kids was. I sort of think that this was the one I remember. I remember that one story. I'm blanking on stats. You know what it is? It was the remember this one. Yeah, this is why they considered it. It was perfectly legal, everything they did. You should surrender. When somebody shows up for you with an arrest warrant, surrender. You did great influence there. Yeah. Like they had ACA, this is like oh, yeah. It's like if you're it's like his son was out like with the dogs and they're taking dogs and two people in ghillie suits like but it, like obviously you should have done shit. But it was like that's very interesting dogs are killed by hurting you see the dogs go so just that up for some artificial the sun the fire the shot yeah yeah Kathleen Balloon goes through all the details. I'm not remembering all the exact details. The main takeaway is this became a white supremacist rallying call and anti-government rally because it was so poorly handled by the FBI/ATF. And it's an example of too much militarized policing. Maybe they responded with too heavy handed. Religious movement framed by symbols of white power movement. Wait a second. So two episodes of our agent tried to make me an informant. Arrest warrant, Marshall shot a dog, better shot the Marshall, siege, protest at the base of the mountain. Yeah. Next year we got Waco. Waco is the Branch Davidian cult. And they're buying and selling guns as a way of fundraising. Now, if you buy and sell too many guns, you become federally licensed firearms. If you don't do the proper paperwork and come at it follow all those rules, then you are committing a crime. This is one thing I will say about guns. Running into guns, in part, I don't want that responsibility. A gun can go from perfectly legal in one scenario to very felonious. Okay, you have concealed carry here in the state of Texas. Walk into a bank forgetting that you're carrying that gun with you, and guess what? That's a potential felon. Right? Post office, federal government building. Like, you go to very illegal instantly. So it was a place called Mount Carmel. Ray Shavidius was the name of the group under David Koresh. They had a stockpile of weapons. There was an ATF investigation. The ATF shows up with friends, and they started shooting at the ATF agents. It leads to a 51-day siege, and that siege ultimately ends with they go in with like air gas, and I try to put in tear gas. It was like a team, and the gas suddenly gets in the right exhaustion and becomes ignition. Yeah. He actually he what? He was one of the real priests there. And what was his take on the whole incident? Uh, yeah. And, one of the questions are compact and critical level, but then compact with it and retired FBI agent stare. I've always wanted to get something in on levels. And even though I do the same, And like it was that level of general general. But this is was that there's a couple of good docu-series on this. Yeah, yeah. There's some people claim that he was raped. Uh, Open question on that. But here we need to finish out our last slide. The last one is Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh was a Bronze Star winner for the First World War. He was a member of the Michigan militia. He had a friend named Terry Nichols, and the two of them basically followed the plot of the trucker diet and rented a U-Haul truck and on a farm created some fertilizer. They made a fertilizer bomb, turned it into a large-scale explosive device, put it in the back of that U-Haul truck, and parked it in front of the federal building in New York City. And I don't show the pictures because it's bad. That building was blown half off. You see it sheared like in half where that last range was. That federal building had a child nurse. So some of the most famous images are these firefighters pulling out the bodies. The whole country looked at that and said, "What the is this? Like, this is insane." What's that? No, I haven't. Is it touching? It is. Um, yeah, always questions. Yeah, still one just they have cheers or all the girls all that. Swing about it. It's not like it's really good stuff. It's most there was nothing to oil that it's really talking about this story. But yeah, it was one of those photos. He's a firefighter radio and carrying one by and it was kind of really fun photo. And it was like it's like a jab stop. Maybe full firefighter that he's moving on here. So it had to really go down at too. Someone didn't like green houses. It's like maybe consider that. He's not the federal government is like, you know, they even traded the heck out of white supremacists. They did a really good job as I described it. And then really great job of it right up until September 11th, 2001, when he decided farming shits. It's harassing reasons. So that's where the balloon hits the story. This is kind of she takes you from the white supremacist movement from the Vietnam era to 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing. Obviously, there's more to the story, and that's where we'll become we get kind of divided after the midterm. So for the midterm, make sure you read